Satan! You're not Satan.
Hey man, that's a nice clown costume. You want to review Spawn with me?
No! I'm sick of Spawn! I'm sick of Spawn!
Oh my God! I was just in the other store and a clown showed up and then he turned into a demon and he punched me through the cow door, through the fucko land, into here. And the weirdest thing, when he punched me, most of my hair came off. Isn't that crazy? It's not a continuity error. This isn't being filmed weeks later. The demon had magic hair punching off powers. I swear. That being said, do you guys want to review Spawn?
Okay. But first, a message from our sponsor.
Hey everybody, it's me, Kieran, the 7th most popular member of the Cinemassacre crew. And I'm here to let you know that when it comes to Black Friday deals, nobody does it like we here at Cinemassacre. From Black Friday to Cyber Monday, all Cinemassacre merch is now on sale at screenwavestore.com. And don't forget, we got shirts and the new poster available on Amazon, yo! Not to mention, there's also 4 Teespring exclusive shirts for sale, including the brand new, highly requested and long-awaited Cinemassacre video shirt. So come on down to screenwavestore.com and get the deals that pay the bills.
So, Spawn. You guys remember Spawn?
Not really.
I do, actually.
He is currently in the Guinness Book of World Records right now. The longest running comic series owned by its original creator, Todd McFarlane. He's done 300 issues of Spawn.
Okay, wow.
I loved Spawn in the 90s.
Like the comics.
Yes. But what really got me into Spawn was the movie.
Well,
Spawn.
I feel really bad because when you said, "Did you remember Spawn?" Yeah, I remember the movie.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
How is Spawn the movie regarded with its fans?
In the Spawn community.
Yeah,
Not very well.
Not very well, okay.
So the movie did okay, didn't do super great. I think it's one of those movies where, like, it did financially well, but they looked at reviews and they're like, we're not going to risk a second one.
Okay. What did people think when it came out? Like, was it just like...
a lot of people thought it was shit.
I didn't see it in theaters, and I always saw shit like action movies.
Yeah, so like...
Oh, man, I totally get it.
Yeah.
I had this friend who used to pull jokes on me all the time. Oh, I finally get it. He basically pulled this joke on me. He's like, oh, you guys see Spawn. This movie's hilarious. No, I'm sorry. He said it was great. He just said it was really good.
Yeah.
Turned out to be hilarious. But he was just like, oh yeah, you guys see Spawn, it's really good. And I watched it and I was like, yeah, it's pretty good, I guess.
Oh.
No.
But I think the main takeaway for me is the devil, which has to be the worst special effects since the giant claw.
Malbolgia?
Yeah, because the thing is, all special effects are relative to the movie and the context. So it just sticks out is the point. It's like when the way it sticks out. I mean, back then, I don't think that was any of the problem I had with it. I mean, I didn't mind the movie that much back then, but when you look back at it, like somebody, okay, let me put it this way. Somebody showed me the clip of the devil recently. Yeah. And just seeing the clip.
James, please. Malbolgia. He is a devil. Yeah. He is not the devil. That's a completely different character.
Well, I'm just going to call him the devil.
Okay.
I'm probably going to call him Malbolgia.
Yeah. I saw the clip out of context. I was like, there's no way it was that bad. That must be like an early render of it or something. And after watching this again, I was like, oh, wow, it really was that bad.
I put you on Earth to make sure Spawn keeps his end of the bargain.
How did I not know it was that bad when I saw it the first time?
Okay.
But I love that it's bad, because if it wasn't so bad, we wouldn't be talking about this after all this time.
Okay,
but it's like, it's not just a monster. This is the fucking devil, and it looks like that.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like a video game.
Yeah. So, a little bit of background with this.
A video game from
back then.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Spawn was a huge indie comic that became like one of the biggest comics in the 90s. You know, of course. It led to an Angry Video Game Nerd episode. Spawn was big. He's got a big legacy. So this was basically Todd McFarlane really wanted to make a movie because the toys were selling so well. And it was like a Ninja Turtles thing. We're like, hey, let's make a movie to appeal to a new audience, kind of dumb it down a little bit. But it's kind of hard to dumb down.
Yeah,
guy.
It was fucking PG-13, right?
Yeah, yeah. And if you listen to the commentary track from this movie, he's proud of dumbing it down to PG-13. So like it was kind of confusing because you can't really make a movie that has to do with angels and devils battling, and the main guy is an assassin who's so good at killing. That's why hell wants to. You can't dumb that down for kids like you can Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, all dogs go to heaven.
Yeah, yeah. But it worked for weird kids like me because I saw this movie and I loved it. Like I had read a few of the comics growing up, but I saw the movie. The movie was like the first thing I was like, "Oh my god, this is great!" And guys, I went out and I got toys from this movie.
You're like fucking 8 years old when this came out.
I know. I got
I see the price sticker on that, and it looks like, what is it, from Bradley's or something?
Yeah, Toys R Us. But no, I got.
Did that come from down the street?
No, I got that at a flea market. But no, at the time, I got the Violator toy from this movie, and I have it right... Oh, that's the wrong Violator toy. That's actually the first Violator toy. Hold on, I have it right... Oh, that's the Violator that goes with the Spawn. I'll find it. I have it right here. Oh, it's another...
How many toys are behind this
Hold on. There's a few more. Is this it? Oh, no, that's Violator Series 20. That's the... here it is. The movie Violator toy. I was real hype about this movie. I was the one kid this movie worked for. I got so big on Spawn, I bought all the toys. I eventually bought the comics, and it worked for me. Did not work for the rest of America. Then I grew up and I read the comics, and I'm like, wow, that movie got it way wrong. So what do you think of the story of this movie?
It's pretty standard for me. I guess it's always like somebody coming back from the dead, and
but he's a superhero, but he's also supposed to be a bad guy.
Yeah, but he's an asshole. He's a murderer. He killed all those people in Hong Kong. Yeah, like innocent, like people working in a goddamn control tower. Blew up a plane.
You know, you gotta give him credit for some of the effects because, for one thing, like they could have easily just put the mask on him the whole time, but they show his face a lot, so they let him act. And you know, it must have been a lot to put on all that, like, you know, that, like,
and John Leguizamo was the clown, like,
oh my gosh, you know, I could not recognize John Leguizamo in this.
Even the entire cast of ER couldn't put you back together again. How do I put this to you? You're pushing up daisies, you're in permanent nap time, you're fertilizer. Hey, is any of this sinking in? You're dead. Dead.
Actually, to be fair, I could not recognize you in your makeup either.
Oh, right. Were you clown recently?
Maybe. Like, listen, it's very difficult to do, like I don't know, like, you know, you see, like, the Ferengi or the Klingons on Star Trek, and those guys have to sit in a chair for, like, 8 hours before a fucking, like, episode of TNG or whatever. But John Leguizamo sitting in the chair having to do makeup for... Spawn must have sucked every day, or Michael Jai White doing it with his face. But when I did the clown makeup, you know, they take like a mold of your face.
It's so creepy.
It's like,
I feel like I gotta hide something behind here.
yeah, I got the mold of it. But yeah, that, like, I was in the chair for like 5 or 6 hours for that, and it was still like it was real tough.
So Violator also looked good in some shots. Yeah. There were some shots that looked like practical effects, I believe.
Some of them, yeah. So here's the background for the visual effects in this movie. If you notice in the beginning of the movie, there's a production company called Band from the Ranch. So that's the director's production company with a few of the other guys. They were all visual effects guys. They worked on, like, Jurassic Park and stuff. They worked in CGI. They were, like, early, like, digital effects.
Band from Skywalker Ranch?
Yeah, it's called Band from the Ranch because the director of this movie and the guys in the production company, they were at Skywalker Ranch. And then they kind of just snuck around and started lighting cigars, and they got caught. And it turns out, because they tried to bullshit their way out of it, and how they tell the story is that Skywalker Ranch, every single room is microphoned. So the security at Skywalker Ranch started reading their conversation that was printed out. Because apparently George Lucas thought his fucking Star Wars movies needed the same security that the Pentagon has. Because he just didn't want anyone knowing about Jar Jar Binks, I guess. So this was them. They kind of like broke out on their own. And this was like their movie. They're like, hey, we're going to show off all our special effects in this movie and how all this... This movie was basically a demo reel for them. I don't think they really care about Spawn.
They fucking reuse that fire tunnel going to hell like 100 times.
Well, here's the problem, because hell is the worst part of this movie, and Malbolgia, like you said, they were going to have a more toned down ending, where it was like that room in the house was going to start to look like a hell room. But they decided, hey, we really want to go to hell. We can pull it off. So they argued with the producers. They got 7 days of production pulled so they can do it. They're like, you can do this, but we're taking away production days. So the whole end of the movie was shot really, really quick against green screens. And it looks like shit. And it was the worst idea because hell looks terrible in that movie. It looks worse than a video game. The multiple spawns, they're not stop motion, but I guess you couldn't have that many digital effects on a screen without it glitching.
Okay.
So they're moving like, it's so...
I always think about that, like, what were computers like then? How did they pull off all the stuff that they did? Like,
it's a lot of render farms and a lot of because I went to school for 3D animation. And there's in like 2003, and there were still a bunch of those big old clunker machines or Combustion Inferno and all these weird programs and shit they would use.
So like they really, really wanted to show off their special effects skills, and they really should not have done the hell thing and the hell looks so generic. It's just lava and fire, and it looks like...
Yeah, this hell is really generic.
It really is. Like, when you think of hell, this is like what a 5-year-old... Which, okay,
they did a better job in the movie we were talking about in Monster Madness.
Oh, yeah, the Coffin Joe movie?
Yeah,
no, that's
This night I'll possess your corpse. Look at the hell scene in that. And that was in the 60s. They did such a better job there.
They do a better job in the comics. Hell is like this weird, surreal, almost alien-looking world that is changing.
Conceptually, at least. Okay, at first I was going to say, like... It's probably, I mean, it takes skill to draw stuff, but it's probably not as expensive and elaborate as making it into a movie.
It's like they didn't have to go to hell in this movie. Spawn rarely goes to hell in the comics, at least the first 100. He goes a couple times.
You're just saying they had stuff to work with and they just threw it away.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's start at the beginning.
Okay, sorry.
You said it looks like a video game. It definitely does. It opens up with like an edgy, almost Duke Nukem Time to Kill fucking cinematic cutscene 90s PC game where it shows like live action clips and fire and fire text. And then you see the main character blow up a plane. Turns out it might have been with civilians, and he's working for it's not the CIA, right?
Agency. I think in the comics he just works for the military, but they call it the agency.
Which is run by Martin Sheen.
Who he did this movie for his kids. He was telling his kids, like, yeah, I got offered something called Spawn, and his son was like, I love Spawn! He's like, all right, I guess I'm doing Spawn.
Is that kind of like how Raul Julia did Street Fighter the movie?
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations.
And died because of it?
Well, he was dying before the movie, but anyway.
But Martin Sheen, he always plays the same character like this, or Elusive Man in Mass Effect. It's just like evil, smoking guy. His ashtray has scorpions in it.
Yeah.
Fucking Priest, the other bad girl, has a tarantula.
So that annoyed me, because when I read the comics, the guy who kills Al Simmons Spawn in the comics is a guy named Chapel from the Youngblood comics. And he's cool, he's got like a skeleton face and everything. And in the movie, they changed it to this priest girl. And then they didn't want to get yelled at for changing stuff, so they introduced her into the comics before the movie came out. And completely like retconned how he died, so that was kind of annoying.
Yeah, they blow him up in a chemical plant in North Korea.
Yeah, and his face is digitally added onto the stuntman face. See, then he comes back as Spawn.
Yeah.
The Hell Spawn.
Because he makes a deal with the devil, or that you find out
which you
later?
never see in the comics. This is the only time you ever see Spawn actually make that deal with Malbolgia. And he basically has, and this is how it worked in the comics, but the movie didn't do it as well. He basically has like an angel and devil on his side. So, like, the guy who's trying to get him to do good is Cagliostro, the old knight.
Okay.
And then the devil is, of course, John Leguizamo, the clown, who I think is the most memorable thing from this movie.
Yeah, because people remember when he eats, like, the actual maggots, and him as, like, the birthday clown, and him in, like, the graveyard.
I think at first I didn't like him because I thought he was too, like, humorous. And then as it went on, I'm like, you know what? He's really funny. Like, I like it.
James, here's something about the clown. If I were to tell you that this movie had the same producer as The Mask, would you be shocked?
Not very shocked, no.
Well, this movie has the same producer as The Mask, and the clown is basically the mask. Like, when his eyeballs bulge out, I'm like, oh, that's just the mask.
They could have got Jim Carrey.
They could have got Jim Carrey.
Because he dies, he comes back 5 years later, he goes to Rat City, where he meets a kid that doesn't really become a big part of the movie. The kid from Pet Sematary, I think. And you figure the kid's going to become like a big part of the movie, but he really isn't. He's just kind of annoying.
You think Jessica Priest, the girl who kills him, is going to be a big part, because they were setting up...
But she dies right away.
They were setting up, she was going to come back later in the movie as either a female version of Overkill, or she was going to be in hell as like an evil, like, lady hellspawn. Instead, they did nothing. Instead, they just did nothing.
Maybe she went to heaven.
Maybe. When he, like, goes into the ballroom and he's, like, shooting all the guys... There's one scene that even when I loved this movie, I couldn't stand it. When Spawn jumps and does the front flip, and he's firing the guns, but there's no one behind him.
They're like shooting into the ceiling.
Yeah, he's just jumping, shooting the guns, and it's like, what did the wall do to you? What did the ceiling do? Why are you shooting the wall and the ceiling?
There was a soundtrack, and I remember...
People love that soundtrack. What's on it?
Only thing I remember off the top of my head, there was a remix of "For Whom the Bell Tolls" by Metallica.
Oh,
I have to look it up because I don't know.
Was that in the credits or something? I know movies like doing that.
It was somewhere in there, or it might have been one of those soundtrack things that just I don't know. I mean,
I just think overall the movie was just kind of a failed attempt to get Spawn to a...
It sucks because it's like a superhero origin movie, so he has to learn how to use all his powers and stuff, but he never really does, and it's technically wrong compared to the comics, I think.
Oh yeah, at the very end, Cagliostro's like...
Take care of your powers. When you drain them, you die.
That's like an important thing. If he uses too many of his powers, he dies, goes back to hell, and then he has to fulfill the deal.
Which is why you use guns and stuff.
Yeah, and then the movie, it's confusing because they don't bring that up at all.
He just uses guns.
And then, that's the reason he uses guns in the comic.
You know what? You're right. It does sound like the movie's like a tech demo for visual effects house.
Yeah.
Because like there's a part where he turns into the wall. There's the cape and the fluid simulation.
It's a toy ad and a visual effects demo. It's not a good version of Spawn. It's a lot of people's introduction to him, but it's not a good interpretation. But yeah, it's confusing because Cagliostro is teaching him how to use all his powers, and then immediately the next scene he's like, don't use all your powers. It's like, what the fuck, man?
And then they also rip off other movies, like when they're doing like the bike scene, it's kind of like in Terminator 2 where
it's a lot like
driving the truck, it's like
yeah.
almost the same scene.
The comics are a little hard to get into these days. They haven't aged super well, and they're super wordy.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're good. They have some cool big ideas, but then there's also like 90s stupid comic shit in it. I would say the best version of Spawn to introduce yourself to is the animated series that was made for HBO, voiced by Keith David.
Oh, I love Keith David. You know what? The animated series, I used to watch the Max because I was on Liquid Television on MTV.
Yeah.
And the Max looks a lot like that Spawn cartoon.
The Spawn animated series, it drops all the cartoony stuff from the comics. It doesn't do the dumb action stuff from the movie.
It's rated R too.
Yeah, it's very mature. That's what's also confusing about Todd McFarlane. So he does the movie to appeal to kids. It doesn't work, and then he does the edgiest, most violent cartoon just a few years later.
Todd McFarlane's a fucking weird dude.
But the cartoon is great. You can watch the whole series in a day. Like they cut them down into like 3 movies. That's the best introduction into Spawn. This movie, again, I love this movie. I love this movie.
I kind of do. I mean, I would say I love it, but I still kind of like the shittiness of it.
I wouldn't have gotten as into Spawn if it wasn't for this movie. Yeah. And it looks cool. A kid... Depending on the kid. It's got to be a kid who's into horror shit. Yeah. It's got to be a kid who's allowed to watch violent movies. Because that's what it's for.
So they made the movie for you.
They made it for us, basically. If you watched this as a kid, you would have loved it.
Yeah.
See, it is like
that's true.
Like, I'm not going to say it's that great, but it is nostalgic.
Yeah.
In the same way this is right here.
Oh, hell yeah. I love how he defeats Hell's army in the end, and they don't explain how or why he does that.
I was wondering, why did you put this in front of me? I'm just
why is that?
I'm like reading the set list, like while you guys talking. I'm like, yeah.
I love that Ice Cube was there.
Oh, Korn! Korn's there,
and Orgy playing their one song. That's a cover.
Blue Monday. I was like, did they have any others? I don't know.
But yeah, he defeats Hell's army, and then at the very end, they all come back from Hell, and they come in the house, and then you see Wynn, Martin Sheen's character, just kind of sitting against a wall in the family, which means they've just been hanging out in that room for like 20 minutes. Like,
also, how do you live in that house afterwards, knowing that like your fireplace led to hell that one time?
Oh yeah, and remember earlier I was talking about that kid from Rat City who's like you think that the family's gonna adopt him or something,
and they don't.
They just throw him back on
his dad's dead. Violator kills his dad, and they're like, "Hey, little homeless kid, thanks for giving our dog back. Go back with my dead zombie demon husband to the fucking trash city."
I like the fireplace thing. I'm just thinking like a movie about all fireplaces lead to hell.
Or like
the gateway
fireplace, or like a Beetlejuice one that just it morphs.
Yeah,
that's fun.
It's cool. I mean, it's different.
I don't know. Spawn's just fucking edgy Batman mixed with the Crow. And
you know what? That's the first time I heard the word edgy. It was it may have been this DVD. Let me think.
Does it say edgy on it?
No, it doesn't say it on. It says it in one of the features. Like there's an interview.
He's edgy.
There's let me see. What is it from? Interview with Todd McFarlane. Maybe it was Todd McFarlane?
I don't know. He's got chains on him. I don't know.
It's cool. It's cool.
Because I don't know
really
what he looks like. But I remember whoever it was in the interview, he said, like, oh, we were trying to be really dark and edgy, and that was the first time I heard the word.
Yeah.
But the way he said it was like, he's like, okay, well, I know some people aren't going to like it, and some people will, but the people who don't like it will be like, oh, well, it's really weird and edgy, but the people who do like it will say, it's really weird and edgy.
But yeah, that cape, I think they just did it a few years too early. That you could do that cape now easily, like Doctor Strange. We were talking about Doctor Strange. Like, they are remaking Spawn. Blumhouse is producing it.
Okay.
They're fighting over the budget right now, but Jamie Foxx was cast. I mean, who knows what'll happen? They're taking their time making it. But it's supposed to be more like the animated series, like darker, seriouser.
It could be good.
Like not so much. Like Spawn doesn't have to be like a big action thing, like occasionally. But I don't know. I hope it does well. I do love this movie though. If you have like an edgy little kid and you want to introduce him to Spawn, this is a good gateway into the Spawn lore. And then when he gets a little older, show him the comics and the cartoon.